Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode.
God's got it.
What has God got for us today? First of all, I just
Oh,
actually want to name, I feel like God's got you in a really cool outfit.
thank you. Thank you, actually. I love this shirt. I do want to take a moment to talk about my shirts because I think that, as it's like hard to find stuff to be a Christian. You like want to like kind of represent, but you don't want to also be you want to be cool. At least I do. So yeah, like I actually partnered with a brand. It's called the Christian Boho, and they make all these really cool like graphics that usually have some kind of Bible verse on them.
I feel like you're like, this is
You're
a
actually wearing it too, by the
I know.
way.
I know. But I didn't, we were always going to plug the shirts, okay? But I was actually talking about like, this is a vibe for you.
The whole thing. Yeah,
Huge
I
vibe.
feel like this is me as like my most embodied self.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. It's like a good mixture of like, good girl, little like
Little edge in there.
side.
Still got a little edge.
Still got a little in me,
But guys, yeah, Jen partnered with this company.
The Christian
then
boho.
she gifted me this shirt.
Yeah.
She said, "What size do you wear?" And then just sent it to, or no, you just asked me for my address, and then she sent it to my house. So we were like, let's wear them on the pod.
What better way? I mean, we're literally here creating the space, talking about our homeboy.
I actually have to name though, ever since coming home to Jesus, the amount of really cool companies that exist for like Christian streetwear is, I'm like, I don't want all of my clothes. Maybe all my clothes are meant to be about Jesus, but I really love it. I feel like it fits my vibe because I also am a very like jeans and t-shirt gal.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like them and they feel like they're like a good quality, but it feels like you've owned them for a really long time, which sweatshirt, t-shirt vibe is for me.
So we'll link them.
Yeah. We'll put that in the show notes for you if you want to check them out. But yeah,
What else has God got for us today?
I think today what's been on both of our hearts, because we've been chit-chatting about it, is entrepreneurship, right? And like the mind games that arise when you are building a business. And
I'm following a calling.
yeah, and like the shifts that take place when you go from like, I'm going in this path and I'm doing this for me versus when you start going into entrepreneurship with God. And like how different that plays out. I just think that's going to be like, I think that's like a juicy topic for us to be leaning into.
Yeah. Because we've been in this space. It's weird. So Jen and I have been friends for how long now? Is it 2 years?
Yeah. I think it's been a couple years now.
2.5 years, but we've both been in the entrepreneurial space since 2020. And something that we bonded over pretty early on in our friendship was how badly we got burned. By like thinking this was gonna be easy. That I was like, I'm gonna just quit my job and follow my passions. And my passion at the time was like help people and work at coffee shops all day. Like that was my business plan.
Literally mine too. If you go back and look at my journals, all I was like, I just want to help people. I don't know how, but I'm going to help people and I'm going to work at the vibiest coffee shops like all the time.
Yeah.
That was my business plan.
And I have I don't know that I would recommend to people to do the nosedive off of a cliff that I did. Like I was an RN for 5.5 years. Cushy job. I was a travel RN at the end of my career. Cushy job that also broke my brain and my psyche and my will to live for a little while. But once I felt this pull to like, there's something else for me. For me, then I didn't have a deep connection with God, but I just started to feel this like I'm meant to help people heal deeper than this. And I dove into entrepreneurship head first. Like at that point for me, the thing that was really helping me was nervous system work, meditation, yoga, right? And I was really working on witnessing myself for the first time, like becoming really aware of myself and my thoughts and my feelings. And it was really helping me in such a way. And yeah, I had no plan, but I also around 2020, I feel like that's when entrepreneurship like exploded.
Yeah,
And
totally.
it was like, this is the thing to do.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for it, but it has been a journey of 5 years to get to where we sit today, where we're kind of starting from scratch, but we're starting from scratch with God at the center and with 5 years of entrepreneurial experience to pour into what we're building now. And going back to what I was saying, something we really bonded over was like getting burned by how easy we thought it was going to be, getting burned by like the millionaire boss babe ideology that was floating around the personal development space. And um I lost my train of thought. What is the third thing?
I don't know. You were talking about things that we bonded over.
What was it?
I don't know.
There was a deep point to that. Give me a second, guys.
Okay. But I will pick up and say, man, that was that era of entrepreneurship exploding. It just played so deeply on, I think, everyone's like underlying wounds.
Mhm.
So much. Like, hello,
Like,
tap
you hate your
in,
life, you
like,
wanna be rich?
send us a comment or a like just on this part alone. Like, have you personally been like attacked or felt like the online space made you feel less than if you did not just close your eyes and do like a little wiggle and
And
like a
manifest
wink,
millions of dollars.
and then you end up with $1 million in your bank account? Because that was the messaging.
Mhm.
So hardcore. And
And it
that
was luxury marketing too, which is like
yeah. And it was all like, oh, you want this life? You want to do that? Like, cool. And I think that's a beautiful space for us to land in and talk about, because that led into a ton of comparison, right? Like, I found myself totally like enamored in the online space of like, well, they're doing it. Like, why can't I? Why does this happen for them and not me? And like found me in this not enoughness energy for
Mhm.
sure.
And I think that that's, there's a balance there, right? Because I'm very particular about who I follow now, and there's a very similar message of like, if I can do this, you can do it too, and there's beauty in that message, but I think what
Mm.
was missing back then was the how, and a
Yes.
lot of people were not teaching a how. It was a lot of manifestation work. It was a
Mhm.
lot of just align your energy. That's what it was. I got it. How burned we got by like it. Well, if it's aligned, it's just going to be easy. You just have to get into alignment, and then it'll be easy.
Yeah.
Get out. If it's not easy, you're not.
I love the
You
voice.
must not be aligned.
I love that voice. I love that voice
And
so
for the longest
much.
time, I did. It was like there's something wrong with me because I can't get aligned.
Yeah, exactly. It was all this like creating in this energy of like, I'm not enough. Like,
Mhm.
it's working for them. Why isn't it working for me?
Mhm.
And you bring up a beautiful point. And I also think they there were, not everybody, but there was not an energy of space of showing up, of like really talking about the work that had to go in behind that.
Mhm.
They were just showing the highlight reel. I mean, and I get it, right? It's vulnerable to put yourself out there, but it was creating such an unrealistic expectation. No one told me about the depths of the discomfort, the imposter syndrome, like all of the things that were going to arise. Nobody was talking about that.
Yeah. Nobody was like buckle up for the journey.
Right.
That
Like, this
the
shit's
spiritual journey.
hard. Yeah.
Mental, emotional, and spiritual journey that entrepreneurship actually is. And I thank God for it now, right? Because it led me home to God. And I will say, I tell this to my clients all the time, like, God got me right in the ego. Like it was, I almost see God's hand in what he was doing.
Mm.
Cause it was like, oh, you want to make a lot of money? You want to feel free? Like and like that's the thing that then I was working so hard towards that pulled me onto my spiritual path. And without that, I don't know that I ever would have ended up in this chair talking about God, right? It's a dark and slippery slope that you can end up spiraling in forever. But that was my first foot, like my first step in coming home to God and into believing. And this is a really important piece, like believing that I could live for and create a mission that was bigger than just myself.
Mm. So good.
Yeah.
That hits really hard. I think, like you said, I mean, I also have been on this entrepreneurial journey since 2020. And as I reflect back, knowing that I had to traverse all of these like little foothills or major
Mountains.
mountains to get to this space, like knowing that I needed to go through all of that
Mhm.
to get to this space. Um, but man, it feels so different now.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
feels
And that's the thing that we want to talk about, the difference between when you are working for yourself or your egoic desires, what I now believe, I say all the time, is like trying to satiate the hungry ghost that only God can fill, right? And I
Mhm.
think that there is something spiritual to running and running and running and running and running on that. And that's where people burn out or they get everything they ever wanted. I've seen this a lot in the coaching space, people who did that, right? They like manifested millions and had these massive businesses, and then there was like a crumbling of it because it wasn't rooted in the truth. It wasn't rooted in God. It was rooted in trying to build up that egoic desire, and I don't think that anything like that can really last or really fulfill.
Yeah. I think it's like the temporary highs and you're just like constantly leading on your own strength and your own energy. I mean, I can reflect back on my years of things that I have put out. And it's so funny how you can look back and you're like, oh, it all makes sense now.
Hmm.
In the moment being really confused and beating myself up of like, I launched this thing and
Nobody
nobody
sees me.
nobody sees
Nobody's
me in
paying me.
this. Nobody wants to like I'm putting these good things out there, but realizing that it was all a me, me,
Hmm.
me. And I'm sharing my story and I'm sharing about this. And it's all about
Me. And I
me.
think people will, and I did, I'll speak for myself, resist that message because just because you are unconsciously working more so in service to yourself than you are to God doesn't mean that you don't have a heart of helping people, right?
Sure.
So many people out there are trying to build things where it's like, I just want to help people heal. I just want to help people heal. I just want to help people heal. But when the root of what it is that you're building is coming from like trying to satiate those wounds,
Mm-hmm.
um, it is coming from a very me centered place. And I'll even speak to like my business evolved into utilizing my spiritual gifts to help people heal. And there was so much beauty and healing that happened in those mentorships and in sessions and in the programs that I would put out. Like, absolutely, it goes without saying that people came home to their bodies. People felt traumas lifting from like the cells of their being, right? They were feeling, I mean, you went through my
Yeah.
mentorship, like you got to experience that. And still at the root of it, I know that I was still trying to satiate myself inside of it, right? Like I was really a big thing that Christ has burned down for me was the identity I had in being a spiritual healer and the ego I built around like almost like I have these gifts and I can heal you. I have a post literally waiting in my note section that it's like I was a healer with a God complex because I wasn't rooted in God, right? Like it was that's hard for me to say, right? Because I do feel like it was always God moving through, doing the healing. I always claimed that, but this there was still an unconscious piece of it that was moving for me to fulfill me,
Mm-hmm.
not to just honor him, listen to him, and move in him.
How does that show up differently for you now in your sessions? What does that look like?
I'm noticing that I don't feel as called to speak about, create content around, or teach on the development of spiritual gifts because I believe it's just a natural byproduct of coming home to God, and that it's not a skill that I need to teach somebody. It's something that just naturally happened for me in coming home to God, right? Like nobody actually taught me like the way that the Holy Spirit moves through me. I'd rather hold people in like guiding them in their devotion to God and their relationship with God and watching as those things like naturally happen, that not being like the goal, which for a while after I opened my spiritual gifts, I felt like that was like my mission was like to help other people realize that they could do the same. The focus was on the gifts, not on God.
Hmm.
Right. So now I feel like my healings, it hasn't changed all that much, except for about, it was probably like 6 months ago, I started getting like a really deep, like, you have to end these prayers and these sessions like in Jesus's name. And I had like a resistance to that. I was afraid it was going to scare people away, but I started slowly like doing it anyway, right? Like really bringing it back to him, not to me. I realized there was like a pulling away of that. So in reality, the way that I hold people in session now isn't all that different. There's definitely much more a focus on prayer, much more a focus on God. I'm much more introducing people and asking people, what is your relationship to God? And are you willing to lean into that and making that like a focus? But that's the thing for me, it's like little degree differences, but the feeling of the ease and the like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
this is what it is that I've always meant to be doing, taking the focus away from myself and giving all of the glory to God.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I'm like listening to you sharing and how much I can like reflect on how much I was in my ego for a really long time, right? So I haven't shared too much here with you guys, but like I was a therapist for 12 years. And so I've been in the business of helping people for a really long time. And so when I decided to show up in the um online space, there was this big part of me of like, I'm better than these people. Like these people are just throwing out a title that they're a coach and that they can help you. I have the credentials. I have and there was just like this big leaning on of like trying to like prove myself. And when I released that, when I invited God into my business, I realized like the pressure got to go away. Like
Mm,
I'm not here to heal you, right? I'm here just to hold the space and invite you in to your own healing. And what does that look like?
mhm.
And I cannot tell you how peaceful that was for me.
Yeah, I feel like it feels so good to land here. And we're still, I mean, I'm still, I'll speak for myself, finding a steady footing in moving in business without that pressure. It almost feels good, too good to be true sometimes of like, can I actually maintain this level of peace? And so long as we keep bringing it back to God and centering God, it feels like he's just showing up again and again and again. And like, yeah, you can be in peace. You can be there now. You've landed, right? And that's not to say that things won't continue to come up. I mean, we're navigating things every moment of this
Right?
troubleshooting, figuring out, fixing, but we stop and we breathe and we pray, and then miracles ensue. Um, I think from that place, I want to, for the listeners, talk about what are some of the lessons that God has moved through your life through entrepreneurship. Like now knowing that He's been using your entrepreneurial journey the entire time for you to grow closer to Him and grow closer to the mission that He always had for you. What are those lessons?
Mm, so many. How much time do we have? I think one of the biggest ones for me is like navigating this space of feeling like I have to know all of the things to be able to execute.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah. And like,
So
who
am
am
I.
I? Who am I to be creating this like online ministry? Who am I to be literally on a podcast
Talking about God.
talking about God, right? Like it's like, yeah. And facing those moments and remembering like if it's on my heart, if it's been placed there, it's there for a reason. And God is going to equip me with
Hmm.
everything that I need.
Hmm.
And He always has.
Yeah. And sitting in or hiding behind imposter syndrome is actually being disobedient to where it is that He is calling you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and all of that, like the pressure and the anxiety and those like stories are what's, yeah, keeping you not walking in that calling.
Hmm. I see that He also uses it though as a way to bring you closer to Him, right? Like the things that come up to the surface on your spiritual walk, on your healing journey, on your entrepreneurial journey, those are the things that you have to face off with inside of yourself so that you can get closer to Him, right? Like these are the things that hold us in separation. Um, and I just want to normalize for people because I'm sure so many of the people listening to this podcast are people who are coming home to God, probably are entrepreneurs or desire to be an entrepreneur, people who have a dream and desires and creation on their hearts, which I think God places there, um, and normalizing that. Like, we are two women sitting here having this conversation on this podcast, building a retreat business, building out a ministry, and we don't feel perfectly capable all the time. And that's where inviting God into your business is huge, because the strength and the momentum to take steps forward, it's not coming from you. It's not coming from your own ego saying, I've done enough, I've gotten enough certifications, I have enough experience, I've gotten enough feedback to own that I am enough. It's owning that we've always been enough in him, and he's enough, right? Like, he's the thing that's going to drive it forward. And that's been such a massive transition for me inside of this venture versus when I was doing it on my own or working so hard for so many years trying to make it happen, instead of surrendering it over to him and letting him be the thing that propels it forward.
Yeah, I think that's like a huge piece for me, is no longer chasing these things to make me feel worthy, right?
Mhm.
Like, I so value having, having my education and my background in mental health and, my certifications and things like that. But another one of those things that like was I kept perpetuating this. I need more. I need to know more before I can act. I need to know this or have this skill before I can. And so just landing in a no, that's not the case.
Yeah.
I am worthy and capable just as I am. I don't have to use that like productivity and the hustle and the grind and all of that to measure like how successful I am. I just
Mhm.
don't.
Mhm.
And laying that down, and I will be honest, because that's just what I aim to do, is like that for me is still like a daily laying down. I really do still struggle with falling into hustle and grind. I mean, I got 6 jobs. I ain't
Mm.
tired, you know? Just kidding. I'm actually
She actually
very
has
I
9.
actually am very tired. But yeah, like God is still doing a work in me
Mhm.
with that,
Mhm.
of having to navigate and trust that I can go all in what he's calling me to, and that being enough, and trusting that I'm equipped. I'm fully equipped with everything that I need. I don't have to go pay for another course. I don't have to seek out another mentor and have somebody else. Not that there's anything wrong with these things, but I think I got wrapped up in that, like, all these other people know better than God knows for my life. And I was doing that for a really long time and outsourcing all of that.
Mhm.
And now, like, the biggest lesson has been like, it's been here all along. God has just
Mhm.
been like, here, like, I have placed this in your heart. You have this mission. I'm giving it to you. And it's just wild also just to navigate and witness the journey he has taken me on
Mhm.
to get to that place.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? What are some of like the lessons you've taken from
Mm.
this journey?
A lot of the same. Imposter syndrome's a big one for me. Who am I? Fear of judgment.
Oof.
I just got full body
Talk
chills.
about it. Let's go
Fear of
there.
judgment.
Let's go
I
there.
have been so afraid to be doing something wrong,
Mm,
to be seen as bad, to to potentially hurt somebody. Um, and yeah, being really afraid of just judgment, being afraid of other people's opinions about
mm,
what I have to say, about my experience, about my connection to God, about the way in which I'm doing it. Because let's face it, as human beings, we are inherently, like, if we are living in separation from God, we are inherently judgmental of other people.
mm,
And there's something that satiates kind of putting ourselves above or shaming someone else. And I found for me, the work that he did in me is that same judgment that I was afraid of receiving from other people, I was actually covertly dishing out in my own mind about other people, right? Like, staying comfortable in feeling like I knew better, right? I think actually this is so sticky for me to say out loud. I had kind of the opposite of like, I'm not enough. I had almost like a superiority complex of
okay.
like who I am and what I can be for you, right? And um Yeah, it's really I'm working that out as I'm speaking out loud in real time, but the same level of judgment I was so afraid to receive, I was giving out, and my relationship with God has led me to feel not only am I whole in the image of God, but so is everyone else, and everyone else is also just a human being walking this journey, doing the best they can with what it is that they've been given, and it's given me such a graciousness inside of my heart for other people. So now that I'm not outwardly judging others so much, I'm not afraid of that judgment myself.
So good. I'm glad that you named that fear of judgment because I I think I even mentioned that to you when we started planning our retreats and things like that. Are we really going to say that we are a faith-based ministry? We are faith-based retreats. Like I was feeling such a contraction around there, and it was a fear of you know, people canceling me,
Mhm,
people stop, investing in what I'm doing.
mhm.
And I got real feedback on that, actually. I have a client, and we had to navigate through it, but she said, I almost stopped following you when you started talking about God more on your stories
Whew.
and how, that was to navigate. And in those moments, it's like, you do come up against that. What am I going to do? Am I going to choose the world? And am I going to choose like
The following.
the following? Or am I going to speak his name?
Mhm.
And am I going to be true to, you know what? I am a follower of God. He is the leader of my life.
And this is the mission he put on
And
my
this is
heart.
the mission that he put on my heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is a struggle,
Mhm.
and I'll find myself still, even when I'm going to put something up, I'm like, ooh, is that like too God? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm still,
I feel that I mean, anybody who is coming over to this podcast who has been following me for a while, I struggle with that often, that I feel like it looks like I've made this really quick
mm,
shift, and I have, and it's been happening for so long, right? It was something for me that was happening for quite some time behind the scenes,
yeah,
and I was doing a lot of processing around it and a lot of internal silent navigating around it, and I wanted to be full. I don't wanna say I'm not done in my faith, right? Like, I wanted to be fully certain and convicted and have it be just a thing between me and me for a while before I allowed it to be something that I was expressing out about publicly. But now that I have, I actually literally in my devotional practice, probably just a few weeks ago, as we started talking about starting God's Got It and starting a new Instagram and calling Living Liberated a faith based business, I sat down in my devotional and I asked God, like, what is it that you need from me today? And literally heard, and it still makes me like, to say it out loud, like, claim me,
yeah,
claim me. You have to claim me out loud.
yeah,
And so I started doing that. And I have also come up against with nobody saying anything negative. I'm getting like beautiful, beautiful feedback because I've been talking about God for a while. Like I've been using the word God for a while. But as I'm talking more about Jesus being Christ centered, um, I'm noticing I'm losing followers every single day.
yeah,
And I think that that is also a place that God uses. Like you said, like, are you going to be true to what it is, the calling that I'm placing upon your life? Can you be honest about it? Can you keep showing up in the face of potential negativity or potential judgment? And I think so much about even just a year and a half ago, I was watching a lot of women who were doing similar work to me, as me, in the more untethered, I hate saying new age spiritual space because I never really identified with that, but it's just kind of this like catch all term for anything that falls outside of the lens of religion, I feel like.
mm-hmm.
Having this same transition happen for them, right? And I was processing feeling like abandoned or angry of like, how could they do that? Like, ugh. And it's something that you kind like, it's hard to resonate with until you have the experience for yourself. And so I think that that's been a piece of my struggle of like, I knew, bringing it back to judgment, I know internally how much I judged people for doing exactly what I'm doing
Just
now.
keeping it real, just keeping it
And God's
real.
like, are you going to be humble and own that? Can you own
Yeah.
that? Can you own where you were and the truth that you were walking with in that time, even if it wasn't the truth that I was going to bring you all the way home to? And are you willing to like bow your head and humble your heart and own where you were and where you are now?
Yeah. I just want to name, and I don't feel like I have to say this, but I want to name, like, as someone who is following your content and having conversations with you, I think you've done a really beautiful job of like being transparent about that walk and owning all of that.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, right? Like, I think, you know, when you start to be more bold in your faith, you are going to get people, you're going to come up against that clash. I mean, I had someone else tell me, like, oh, you're doing a podcast and it's going to be about God. Like, are you prepared for that? And I'm like, what do you mean? I love God. What are you talking about?
He gonna prepare me real quick.
Right. And it was like, no, like people are going to have a lot to say because of this culture built up around like Christianity and religion and people having opinions about what, you know, those people are.
Yeah.
And um I I just love the mission. I mean, I might be a little biased, but like the mission of being here in this space and what we're trying to do is like really hone in on that, like we're in the midst of this. We're
The
trying to
messy
like,
middle.
yeah, this is the messy middle. Like how we're navigating being in the world of business, taking the pivots that we have, you know, when social media is so hot and everyone's got something to say about everything and like,
Honoring God as best we can, and also having really so much reverence for the people that we are here to help. Because at the heart of the mission is helping people heal home to God and heal their nervous systems and bodies back home to safety so that they can live a more peaceful and creative and full life. And I think that's something that in having this pivot, I've wanted to be really conscientious of because I have sat with a lot of women in their pain. I have sat with a lot of women in their trauma, and I personally felt very traumatized by people who I had previously followed that were kind of touting one philosophy or one way of being in spirituality and then flipped a switch and almost like didn't even give an explanation of what,
right,
like, I feel like the experience of what's moving through is really important to talk to and about, and to also name where I sit inside of my faith right now is I don't need you to land in the same walk that I have. I am going to continue to talk about how endless the healing felt and how I feel like this is the light I was always waiting for at the end of the tunnel, because that's really true for my experience. But I also trust so much in God that He'll do the same work He did in me in anybody else, right? Like nobody needs me to say like Jesus is the way and the truth and,
right.
and the life. I can claim that and I can speak to my experience about it. And it wasn't anybody else saying that that brought me home to Him. It wasn't.
Yeah. And I love that so much. And that really is like the heartbeat behind everything that we're building here. Behind our creating retreat spaces, behind this podcast, behind the Living Liberated ministry that we have been co-creating with God. It's like to create a space for us to have these kind of like heart-led, curious conversations
Mm-hmm.
and to like humble ourselves. Like I don't have all the answers,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you can ask me my opinion about something, I will give you my heart centered answer on that. And at the end of the day, like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that being okay. I think we're living in a space where just like everyone is a guru or knows the right thing. And it's like, no.
It's rare to find people in this space who will confidently say, like, it's okay to not know. It's okay to question. It's okay to
Yeah.
be curious. And I just all the time picture, like, if Jesus were sitting here in the room with us as we were having conversations about the way home to God and our personal experiences, He would meet us with so much loving compassion and question and metaphor and
Mhm.
open-hearted education, not, no, that's wrong and that's bad and you're gonna go to hell because of
Yes.
that, right? And there's so much of that, unfortunately, inside of the Christian space. And I do see the way that this generation's entrepreneurial spirit and hunger for God has the potential to revolutionize the reality of what needs to happen so that people really can fully come home to God and not just come home to dogma and not just come home to what somebody else says you have to do that's filled with shame and fear, because that's not the way to God. Fear is not the way to God. Shame is not the way to God. It's not. It's healing and it's open-heartedness and it's love. And I just pray that anybody listening to this podcast, anybody that comes to one of our retreats, anybody that joins us inside of our ministry, watches any piece of our content, can feel how important that is to this space, that I really see us doing something different. And all of it is coming from the way in which we are devoting ourselves to allowing God to move through our lives and through this business.
Yeah. Are there any spots that still feel sticky for you of inviting God into your business?
For sure. Right in this moment, I'm creating a brand new Instagram called God Embodied.
Go
Every
follow.
every piece of content I'm talking about what it truly means to create something of meaning in God, to be on mission, to be an entrepreneur, to be a creative that's not just working for your own creation, but is working with God for the creation of the betterment of humanity as a whole. Um, and it scares the shit out of me every day. Every single day. Every time I post something, I'm like, "Oh god, is this too much?" But I know that that just comes from a past fear of when I had the eyes to look at what somebody else was doing and being like, "That's a lot. That's too much." Like,
Mhm.
when I had judgment about it, and it softened my heart to allow it to be okay. I know people are going to have things to say. I know people are gonna have negative backlash. I know people are gonna come for the way that we talk about God and talk about being Christians, because there's such a spectrum. And that's something that I really had to accept that's helpful for me in this area. Like, I have fear. I have fear, and I'm still a human, and I still get scared when people have negative things to say to or about me on the internet. But something that's helped me so much is God continuously reminding me that those are human beings speaking. Like, we are all flawed human beings. We all are going to come from a lens of what we've experienced, what we've been taught, what's been conditioned into our minds and bodies. And as many people that read the Bible, there are that many interpretations and perspectives and perceptions of what it actually says in that book, right? And we have to be willing to own and admit to that as Christians in order to, I believe, allow people the spaciousness to walk home to God in the way that we're talking about, to have this direct connection with Jesus that goes beyond the book,
Mhm.
that goes beyond what's been said about the rules. And if you bring it back to the story of Jesus, that's what he was here talking about as he was standing up against religion. He was standing up against the Pharisees and their rule book and their laws. And I just see that in such a big way moving through so many creators who are really here with a heart on fire for God and helping humanity evolve. And that's the power that we have right now through entrepreneurship. And I think it's so beautiful the way that God has moved through this generation, helping us heal a lot of that stuff that's made us feel disconnected from him, and also helping us heal a lot of the things that would have gotten in the way of stepping forward in a mission that's this big. Like, it's not small.
Definitely not. No, I mean, I'm excited and I agree with you. It's been encouraging to see the shift in the energy from that mega boss babe energy and get rich quick and all of that. And you do see way more people that are coming to this realization that, like, oh, maybe there's something deeper here.
Mhm.
The curiosity around it, the fire to help people reconnect in with this. And I'm feeling very encouraged about that and excited that God has brought us to this space where
Mhm.
now we get to be a little part of that.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
that's pretty
Another thing that
fantastic.
actually is, I'm recognizing as you're talking about that, and as we're talking about just this like generation of human beings who have such a drive for entrepreneurship and
Mhm.
working on something that they love and they care about and they're so deeply devoted to, and also bringing God into that or having God be at the center. I used to feel such a sense of comparison and like
Mhm.
there was not enough space for me or I was too late, that I don't know, right? That there was already too many people inside of the space of what it was that I was trying to do, right? And ever since we've centered God, I have so much excitement watching what other people are doing through God. Like there isn't this
Mm.
there isn't the comparison. We talked about that earlier. There isn't the comparison. There isn't the, oh, because they're doing that, they're better than me and I can't. I'm like, oh my God, look at what God is doing through all of these people. And every voice is needed. Every mission is needed.
Yes.
Every faith-based business is needed. Because how many businesses do we have out there that are rooted in greed and what is the word I'm looking for? Like capitalism and this need to drive the endless consumption of things that we don't actually need,
Yeah.
where I see these businesses that are popping up and these voices that are coming out and are so on fire for what they're doing as the way that God is building the kingdom of heaven on earth.
Yeah. It's powerful to be a part of that. And I totally agree with you. I mean, it's beautiful to witness the laying down of that comparison. Comparison was also really huge for me, and it would put me in this like state of freeze. Like,
Mhm.
oh, they're doing that thing. They're doing it way better than I can do it. So like I'm just not going to do anything.
Mhm.
And first of all, had like this silly revelation of like, do you know how many bottles of mustard there are in a grocery store? Like, I mean, I know that's like a really
But I
silly
like it.
example, but literally, like, if you go down the condiment aisle, there's probably like 37 different mustards, ketchups, and stuff. And I'm like, bro, if these companies can, like,
You know what we're
you
gonna do?
know,
Mustard.
right. But I'm gonna do it this. And it's like, I mean, I know, again, that's a silly, like, way to explain it, but like, God has so uniquely made all of us, right? Like, he's going to speak through me to someone in a way that's unique to how I would express it
And to how that person needs
and
to hear
how
it.
they need to hear it. And they're going to connect in that way. And same thing for you. And it's like, we all get to win here when we are running towards God and like we are keeping that at the forefront of the work that we're doing. We are all needed. We've all been so uniquely made. I want to hit that home because that was a real struggle for me for a long time to own. There ain't nobody like me. I mean, but truly, like, how cool is that? Like, you have been made to be this human that you are. I am here in this human, and you don't take away from me. I don't take away from, like, we both get to just be here in our
Mhm.
experience and be poured into and met exactly how we need. And I can't think of anything cooler than that,
Mhm.
honestly.
Mhm.
And what an exhale, to kind of bring it full circle of like what it feels like now to do business with God. It's
Mhm.
like, it
Right.
feels like I can just sit down this heavy bag that I've been carrying around for so long.
Of how am I gonna do it, and what do I have to do, and what
Right.
do I have to figure out, and
Yeah.
always trying to think 10 steps ahead, but also not willing to put one foot in front of the other, that it's like, if I can't see the finish line, I'm not even gonna start.
Right.
And with God, seeking God first and that devotional relationship to God that comes before anything and bringing that into the center of business, I feel so safe
Mm.
I only know the next step.
Yeah.
I only know the next step. And I just want to speak a little bit to like the story of this podcast being created. I had got the hit of there's going to be an evolution of It's All Happening. It's going to rebrand. I'm becoming a new thing in God. So that has to become a new thing alongside me. I want to say it was the next day or
Yeah.
within the same week. Jen and I got on a call and you started talking about, I think it's time for me to start my podcast. And I was like, that's the change that has to
Mm.
happen. I have chills. It's like, I'm just listening and answering and listening and answering. And then we started riffing on what it could look like. And even that, it was like we got the name of the show, the vibe of the show, the mission of the show, all just by having one conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Reached out to Jackie and was like, are you on board to do this with us? Jackie's been my OBM in my business, and we've been integrating her into what we're doing now. Are you willing to figure this out with us? And within weeks, we booked this space. We figured out all the equipment that we need. We figured out the back end of how to make this happen. And all of it came together because of our willingness to say yes and take a step and trust that God was going to show up for the rest.
Yeah, and there's really important stuff there, and I want you to lean into it because you were talking about it earlier before we started, and it's this, like, false sense of being ready,
Yeah.
right? Like, and that's, like, such a huge part because we're never going to feel ready when God puts a mission on your heart. Of
Yeah.
course, it's gonna be like, "Really? Are you" like, I remember how many times we
We
had that, like, literally, like, we're like, "Really? Are we sure?" And it's just like, "Yes." And then when you do, how fast things move.
and how good it feels when you say that yes and step.
Yeah.
Because we had that first conversation, and of course, when God is moving through, it feels good. We're like, "Oh, yeah, this is definitely gonna happen. We're having all this momentum." We decided not only are we starting a podcast together, name, new vision, new mission, the whole thing. But we also decided if we're going to do this, we want to do it right from the beginning. We want to have a set. We want to have multiple angles. We want to increase the production of what we're doing with this creation in the name of God.
Yeah.
And had no idea how to make it happen, but we just took the steps and allowed it to happen. And we had to have so many conversations after that initial moment. You go back to your regular life and we're doing all the things, and we'd come back together and be like, "Are we sure we're gonna do this?"
Is
Like
this really
really in
gonna be a
December, like
thing?
we're 3 weeks away from this. We're really gonna do this thing, and like y'all, we traveled for this. We got on a flight. We can't like, and we didn't have. I want to name this out loud because I think it's really important for people to hear this. We didn't have the resources to make it happen. It's not like our business is already doing financially really well. Like we're in the beginning where we are birthing a baby business.
Yeah.
And we just had to be so willing to say yes and step anyway. And it's been such a beautiful experience feeling the way that God has showed up in each one of those moments. And in those conversations, we had the contraction. We considered, like, are we trying to move too fast? Is this not logical? Like, should we wait longer? And every time we brought it to prayer, and both of us were just like, no, this is what it is. And this is like, God's got it, right?
Yeah.
God's got it.
God's got it. That's our, like,
Um,
new motto these days.
and from that, what really sank in for me is it's never going to be about readiness. It's always going to be about willingness.
Mhm.
And people will sit forever behind readiness. But when you put your eyes on God and you form that relationship with Jesus and you're in that devotion and you're in conversation with him and getting your next steps directly from the source, you are getting the steps for what you are creating from the source of creation.
Mhm.
Then you just have to step and the rest gets filled in, right? And I don't want to say that with a false sense of like, it makes everything so easy, but our experience thus far has been like, wow, this is going so smoothly.
Mhm.
Like, and I've had so many instances inside of business when I was moving for more selfish or egoic reasons that it felt so hard. Like it felt like I'm moving through molasses and there's fear here and there's the imposter syndrome and there's the judgment and there's the not enoughness and like nothing's working, and being in that for so many years. And I really feel like since we've committed to putting God at the center of this creation, it's just been like, okay. And the steps feel light and they feel fun. And I want to bring home that something that's become so clear to me in this, from planning our first retreat this past year to saying yes to jumping into the next, to saying yes to the community, to saying yes to doing this, the experience of it has been so fun. Like we're getting to live in the experience of this creation coming through us only because of not readiness, but willingness to say yes and step and to say yes and claim him in all of it.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's what it's about, like, it's taking that next step, knowing that the fear is gonna be there, knowing the discomfort's going to be there, but can you quiet that and allow yourself to come back home to the truth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Can you work on shedding some of those stories by coming back in, reconnecting, cultivating that safety within your system?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And building on the foundation of the relationship that you get to have with God, right? Because that's where the faith is actually going to come from. It's not going to come from us talking about our faith. This gets to be inspiration and it gets to help you feel inside of yourself what's possible, for you to see where we've come from and that it wasn't always this feeling. Um, But the foundation of faith that you build is going to, I keep saying this, but do a new thing in you. It's going to give you strength beyond your understanding. It's going to give you momentum beyond your understanding. It's going to give you a mission and a purpose and a drive that I can only speak for myself in this moment, but wasn't there for me before. It's like
Facts.
we put God at the center of the business and a flip switched for me. And I now went from being like, oh, I have to do this and I don't want to, or there's so much to do and woe is me, to this excitement and this pleasure and this joy just in getting to live this life and create this thing that, prayers be to God, gets to help so many people heal and come home to peace in Him.
Yes. Full stop. I love it. And I think that if you're listening in here, and even if you're not an entrepreneur, right, like all of these principles still apply,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like, where in your life are you playing small? Where is there something you just really want to step into and do, but there's fear holding you back?
What is that thing that's been nagging at your heart? And
Yeah.
can you just let yourself take a step and lean into faith?
Yeah. And that's my invitation. I think that's our invitation. Yeah.
Yeah.
As we're kind of like bringing this episode to a close, it's like really tune in. Can you get quiet with yourself for a minute? Be maybe hands on your heart, hands on your belly, and just like, what is that thing? What's that thing that's keeping you up at night? What's that thing that's like always you're daydreaming about?
Mm-hmm. And can you let go of the pressure of it needing to come solely from you and remember within yourself that God's got it?
Boom. Okay. So good. This was great. This is good.
Yeah.
We're so glad you were here. Thanks for tuning in with us. I hope you're enjoying this. And
We'll see you on the next one.
yeah.
Okay, guys, that's a wrap. If today's episode spoke to you, please let us know. Leave us a comment or reach out via email.
If you know someone who would benefit from this message, please take a moment to share it with them and make sure to hit the subscribe so that you never miss an episode.
Thanks for spending time with us today. We hope you leave here reminded that whatever season you're in right now, God's got it.